It's the best program I've ever been into. I'm glad to be part of this.
I like this a lot because it helped me lose weight from the first time that I started, and I progressed a lot, and it helps me a lot. It helps me out a lot in sports and things like that. So it means a lot to me.
Hi, my name is Tara Taylor, and I'm the Program Director of the We Run the City Youth Marathon Program. I'm standing in front of the Captain Arthur Roth School. The We Run the City Youth Marathon Program gives the students of the Cleveland Metropolitan School District a chance for additional physical activity. The We Run the City Youth Marathon Program has the students train at their schools 3 to 4 times a week so that they can train and participate in the Rite Aid Cleveland Marathon on May the 15th, 2011. The program gives the students 3 opportunities for training. The first one is the 1.2, which the students train 12 to 14 weeks, and during that 12 to 14 weeks, they run 25 miles, completing their marathon of 26.2 miles on race day. The second option is the 10K, and the 10K means that the kids run 6.2 miles on race day at the Rite Aid Cleveland Marathon. And our last option is the half marathon, where the students train to run 13.1 miles on race day. Before race day, the half marathon students practice 3 practice races where they can practice proper half marathon. And this is where the students train at their schools and they run 13.1 miles on race day. Prior to race day, they participate in 3 practice races, and these practice races give the students a chance to practice their pacing and to practice race etiquette. This is important because on race day, the students won't only be running with other kids and other students, but they'll be running along 15,000 other participants in the Rite Aid Cleveland Marathon. In addition to race day and our practice races, we have pre-evaluation and post-evaluation days. And this is when the students come down to the downtown Y and they participate in a series of physical and fitness measures such as BMI, blood pressure, sit and stand testing, and in addition to the testing, they take a survey on an audio-supported PDA. Race day is the day that the kids look forward to all year round. The 800 kids that we have registered now, of the 800, we expect 500 to 600 of those to cross the finish line on race day, May 15, 2011. Crossing the finish line is not the end. Crossing the finish line is just the beginning of setting goals for the rest of their lives.
Hi, I'm Elaine Borowski, and I'm the co-director of the Prevention Research Center for Healthy Neighborhoods here at Case Western Reserve University. Our center has been involved in the We Run the City Marathon program for about the past 5 years, where we have served as the evaluators for the program. And in this evaluation plan, the students as a team in groups of probably 8 to 10 schools come down to the YMCA about 1 to 2 weeks before the training begins, somewhere around January and February, and then again 1 to 2 weeks after the race is over in the end of May and beginning of June. And during that time, the students work through a series of stations that are placed throughout the YMCA in which we collect information on their body measurements, their blood pressure, and a number of other things. So let me walk you through the average evaluation.
So the students come to this station, and after they sign an assent form, they get to go downstairs and get a PDA. And after they get a PDA, they do a survey based on the program. And as they do the survey, each of the questions are read to them, and they can listen to it on headphones, or they can also read along. And then after they're done, they come back up and they're ready for the next station.
Are you a pro? No. Okay, so this is just a simple question. If it asks you what your favorite color was, what would you say? One of those.
No, blue.
Blue? Just tap there.
Oh, okay.
If you change your mind, tap somewhere else. And whenever you're ready to move on, you've got it. Yep, there's your stylus. Here's a headset. Wait, the questions will be read to you, and it gets plugged in on top.
They're going to come in and they're going to start at height and weight, and then they're going to move directly back to the blood pressure area, then come back out. They're going to do the BIA, which measures percent body fat, and then they're going to hip and waist circumference, sit to stand, and then checking out.
So they're coming in to have their blood pressures taken.
Oh, okay.
And based on the national protocol, they will sit first for 5 minutes to rest, to relax a little bit, and then they will be taking their blood pressure. Now Jim here is working with an iPad where we're using a system called RedCap, which allows us to directly enter the data into the computer, but also it allows us to know immediately whether their blood pressure is at risk. Based on, in order to do that though, we had to have their height and weight and everything else taken first. So that's why we had that was the first station, then they came here, and now once Jim takes her blood pressure and puts it into the computer, it'll tag it, or it'll flag it and tell him whether or not he needs to take a second blood pressure. So let's start with body measurements first, starting with BMI. Among the kids that start out being overweight prior to the training started, we do see a significant change in their BMI Z-score. But not only that, but about 45% of them actually move one whole category. So they move from being considered obese, which is over the 95th percentile by weight standards, down to either overweight or into the normal range.
Body impedance measure, and the idea is to measure the students' body composition, so the body fat, body muscle, and the distribution of fat to muscle and water in of the students' weight. So the student would basically step up onto the machine. We enter his age, height, weight, gender, and he basically holds onto these two handles. He stands there for about a minute, and the machine does its thing. It runs its computation and prints out the information from the printer over there. So there is a usable sheet that explains the student's BMI.
Another area of talking about is the fitness measures, which are consistent across the board. We do a series of things called, one is a sit to stand, which is how fast they can move from a sitting to a standing to a sitting position 10 times, how long that takes.
Did the 10K marathon last year. It was fun, and I plan on doing it again this year.
Don't give up. Don't give up. Keep trying. And I know, don't say you can't do nothing. Just give it just try and just believe in yourself.
I think that it's a good, healthy program for kids because you stay in shape and you don't gain much weight, because most teenagers care about their weight. So I think this is a good program if you care about your weight. And I think it's a good program because Michelle Obama, she has been encouraging us to exercise and stuff, and I just think that it's really good that this program is actually listening to what she's saying. So that's why I think it's a good program.
This program because it kind of gives me a sense of feeling that I can do pretty much anything I want to.
The program, I think, is good. It's very, very meaningful to me to see 500-600 young men and women, boys and girls, competing.
Teach at Denison School on the west side of Cleveland. This is our 6th year in the We Run the City program. We've been here all the years that it has been up and running. It is a phenomenal program. I've seen great changes in the kids. Each year I come back with more and more kids excited and interested in participating. This year it's in our building. Have seen children's behaviors change. They've seen them become more interested in their studies, more focused on what they need to do to maintain a better grade point average. They've seen citizenship improvements. We've seen less altercations, less problems between individuals, because they don't want to lose the opportunity to participate.
These are some of my students. These are all 8th grade students. They're in the senior cluster at TIS, and they're doing the half marathon this year with the We Run This City program. Right now we're training 3 miles a day, 4 days a week. The students are doing an excellent job keeping up.
My teacher helped me in the program because she's encouraged me to keep on going and not stop running. She encouraged me to never give up on what I can do and what I can't do.
Forward and talk now about some of the results. And most of the results that we've seen, we've replicated now 3 years in a row, significantly declined. But probably the most striking, and the one that probably has the most impact on one's long-term health, is their blood pressure. And we see that the blood pressure drops significantly in half. So approximately this past year, approximately 18% of the students had elevated blood pressures, of which they were evenly split between prehypertensive or hypertensive categorization. And at the post-test, this dropped to less than 9%. So almost in half that we see. Now, probably even more striking, though, is we have an analysis now of kids who have participated in the program for at least 2 years. So they've had 4 data points. So we've seen them before they started, after their first run of training, and then the following fall again, they participate in their 2nd year. And what we see is the same drop in blood pressure from after the 1st year, but what we really are happy to see is that the blood pressure did not go back up, but it stays flat. And then after the 2nd year, we see another significant drop of the group that was still high. So to the point where it's less than 1/3 of them continue to have elevated blood pressure by the end of the 2-year program. So it's not just an impact of the 12, 14 weeks, but appears to have a long-term. What we see already, just from a physiological standpoint and a fitness standpoint, is this 14-week program has a substantial impact on their health, on their fitness, and lastly, on the way they see themselves. We look at a lot of self-reported kinds of questions around what they perceive, their own physical image, their competency about being physically active. And again, if you remember, some of these kids are overweight and probably not necessarily the athletic kid that has participated in these kinds of activities before. And of those children that start out in the program overweight are much more likely to show a change in their perceptions of themselves as a physically active person. We also note that the kids are more likely to pick more adventuresome kinds of activities after they've participated in this. So it opens up their view of what they can do. And if you actually can see this on race day, you can see why. They're experiencing both a activity that they've never participated in before, which is being a part of a large community run, but to see people on the streets, on the sidewalks cheering them on and seeing a large community around this activity gives them a very different view, I think, of both themselves and of the community themselves.